I stood in our kitchen, my boots still dusty from the flight home, when Wendy held up her phone. The tiny heartbeat pulsing through the speaker shattered everything I thought I knew about coming home from war. My name is Jude, and I'm 35 years old. After 3 combat tours overseas, I thought I understood betrayal. But watching my wife's glowing smile as she showcased a pregnancy that couldn't possibly be mine, that was a different kind of ambush. Our house had always been a model of military precision. Bills paid early, savings growing steadily, deployment letters filed neatly in a drawer, though her responses grew sparse. Now that precision would serve a different purpose. With hands steady from years of training, I reached out to Priya Shah, my newly retained lawyer. The post-deployment agreement and DNA test would expose the truth about Wendy and Demir. If loyalty is used against you, do not rage. Record. I will show you how consequences, not chaos, deliver justice. Before I go any further, let me know in the comments where in the world you are watching from. And make sure to subscribe because tomorrow I will share a story you don't want to miss. But let me start from the beginning. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across our kitchen floor as I mechanically went through the motions of cooking pasta. 9 months away, and muscle memory still knew where everything lived. The colander in the bottom cabinet, olive oil on the second shelf. The familiar movements kept my hands busy, while my mind circled around the heartbeat video from earlier. You know that hollow feeling when your training kicks in during chaos? That's what it was like, setting 2 plates on our oak dining table. Everything in slow motion, everything too sharp. Wendy's heels clicked against the hardwood as she entered, clutching what looked like a folded paper. Her pregnancy glow couldn't mask the tension in her shoulders as she sat down. The sound of my fork against the plate seemed too loud in the quiet room. "I have something to show you," she said, sliding a glossy sonogram print across the table. "We're finally getting our miracle." I stared at the black and white image, my voice coming out steady and low. "Miracle? I've been gone 9 months, Wendy. Explain the math to me." Her fingers twisted her wedding ring. "You were gone so long?" "Exactly my point, so how is this mine?" "We barely talked," she said, voice rising slightly. "You don't know what it was like here being alone." "A miracle needs months," I interrupted, keeping my tone even. "And I wasn't here for those months." Simple biology. The pasta was getting cold, untouched on both plates. "Whose child is this?" "You're my husband," she insisted, tears welling up. "That makes you the father." I set my fork down carefully. "That's paperwork, Wendy, not biology." "Who is the real father?" She cracked then, first in a whisper so faint I almost missed it. "Demir." "Demir?" "From work," she added, louder now. "He was just a friend. I was lonely." "Lonely doesn't make babies," I said. "Tomorrow morning I'm calling a lawyer. We'll get a DNA test and start legal separation proceedings. If you leave, you'll still pay," she shot back, desperation creeping into her voice. "The baby needs a name." "You're the husband. My name isn't a lifeline for your mistakes." I pushed back from the table. "A judge will sort out the rest." I gathered my essential belongings and moved them to the guest room, the one we'd once planned to make into a nursery. Sitting on the edge of the bed, I pulled out a notepad and documented everything. The conversation, her admissions, timestamps for each exchange. Years of military reports had taught me the value of detailed records. The sonogram lay on the desk where I'd placed it. I took several clear photos with my phone, creating a new folder labeled Evidence before storing them. Setting my alarm for early enough to call Priya Shah first thing, I lay back on the guest bed, fully clothed. The ceiling fan spun lazy circles above me, its quiet whirring the only sound in a house that no longer felt like home. I woke before my alarm, the gray pre-dawn light barely filtering through the guest room blinds. My phone showed 5:15 a.m. Military habits die hard. Early start means tactical advantage. "Need your eyes on something?" I texted Robin. "Meet for lunch?" "I'm there," came his instant reply. "Just say when and where." The streets were empty as I drove to the nearest branch of my bank. Their website had promised early bird hours starting at 6 a.m. Standing in the crisp morning air, watching the branch manager unlock the doors, I remembered all those dawn missions overseas. Different battlefield, same principle. Secure your position first. Opening a separate account took 15 minutes. The teller's fingers clacked against her keyboard while I transferred half our joint savings. Not stealing, not hiding, just protecting what deployment had earned. You learn quick in combat. Secure your supplies before the firefight. Priya Shah's office occupied the 4th floor of a glass and steel building downtown. Her handshake was firm, her eyes sharp behind rectangular frames as she reviewed my documentation. "Smart move on the post-deployment agreement," she said, tapping the notarized paper. "When did you both sign this?" 2 weeks before I shipped out. Standard military family practice. She nodded, scanning the clause about adultery, voiding alimony, and transferring the house. "And you have your original deployment orders?" I slid them across her desk along with our marriage certificate. Combat taught me to keep critical papers close. "Complete set. Here's our battle plan," Priya said, opening a fresh legal pad. "First, we preserve everything. Texts, emails, social media, financial records. Second, we file for separation citing adultery. Third, we petition the court to mandate DNA testing at birth. Finally, we'll seek temporary orders preventing her from putting your name on any hospital documents." The strategy felt solid, like a well-planned operation. "What's our timeline?" "I can have the filing ready today if you can get me evidence of the affair." Back home, Wendy had already left for work. I backed up our phone records, photographed her calendar. All those late meetings and work events spanning my deployment, each entry a breadcrumb trail leading to truth. The diner where I met Robin was half empty, the lunch rush still an hour away. He slid into the booth, laptop already open. "Some guys you don't need to explain things to, they just know." "Show me what you've got," he said. We started with Venmo, public transactions telling their own story. Demir's profile was a gold mine of carelessness. "Thanks for dinner." And "great weekend," with dates matching Wendy's calendar entries. "Check his Instagram," Robin suggested, fingers flying across keys. Public posts painted the picture. Hiking trips, restaurant check-ins, even a beach day. All while I was dodging mortars overseas. Each timestamp lined up with Wendy's work events. "Screenshot everything," I said, "before they realize and delete it." Robin's work was thorough, systematic. By 2 p.m. I had a folder full of digital evidence ready for Priya. Her reply came within minutes. "Perfect. Filing separation papers and DNA petition before court closes. Stay frosty." I stared at those words on my screen, feeling that familiar pre-mission calm settle in. The first objectives were locked down. Now came the wait for contact. The late afternoon sun slanted through Priya's office windows as we prepared for mediation. She sat across from me, legal pad covered in neat notes, running through potential scenarios. "Remember," she said, "when Wendy escalates, and she will, you maintain neutral tone and specific facts, like calling coordinates on the field." I nodded, throat tight. "Timeline is biology. Keep it mathematical." "Exactly. If she brings up family obligations, name isn't a lifeline for deception. Good. And if she gets emotional, stay focused on evidence, not feelings." The conference room at the Mediation Center felt sterile, all beige walls and recycled air. Wendy arrived with her attorney, wearing a navy dress that highlighted her growing belly. My chest tightened, but I kept my face neutral, remembering Priya's coaching. "Your calmness is your shield." The mediator, a gray-haired woman with reading glasses on a chain, opened her laptop. "Let's begin with establishing key dates." I placed my folder on the table, methodically arranging bank statements and phone records. I deployed March 15th. According to the sonogram dated last week, conception occurred in late June. Wendy shifted in her chair. Her attorney leaned in to whisper something. "Can you explain the timing, Wendy?" I kept my voice steady, like reporting mission details. It's not that simple." Her fingers twisted together. "Actually, it is. I have your calendar here." I slid the printed pages forward. "These weekends with Demir, June 18th, 25th, July 2nd. Perfect overlap with conception window." "You're making it sound clinical," she snapped, "and this is about family." "No, this is about biology. Timeline fixes biology. A baby needs a father's name. A name isn't a lifeline for deception. The words came out exactly as practiced. Her face flushed. "You're being cruel. I'm being fair." Suddenly, she lunged across the table, grabbing for my phone. I stepped back, chair scraping against carpet. "Don't touch me or my property." The mediator's pen scratched quickly. "Mrs." Hallstrom attempted to seize device. Wendy's attorney touched her arm, murmuring urgently. She slumped back, eyes bright with tears I refused to let sway me. Priya took control, voice crisp. "Given this behavior, we're requesting temporary orders. My client will maintain exclusive control of household finances until paternity is established." 2 hours later, we had the judge's signature. DNA testing ordered for birth, full financial control transferred to me. Standing in the courthouse hallway, Priya handed me copies of the orders. "Court date's set for next month," she said. "We'll push for expedited processing." I pulled out my phone, thumbs moving quickly. "Robin, need deeper dive on Demir tonight. Got time?" His response was immediate. "Already ordered pizza. Come over at 7. When I looked up, Priya was watching me with approval. "Keep building the record," she said. "Every receipt, every post, every interaction. That's how we win." Robin's kitchen smelled like pepperoni and determination. We'd spread printouts across his table, social media screenshots, payment records, location tags. Every digital breadcrumb Demir had carelessly dropped. "Look at this pattern," Robin said, tapping his laptop screen. "Every Thursday he checks in at that bistro near Wendy's office. Same time window." I leaned closer, comparing timestamps. Regular lunch dates while I was deployed. Real classy. Their first Venmo transaction was in May. Robin scrolled through the feed. Coffee, then lunch, then hotel parking. My jaw tightened. Timeline matches her calendar perfectly. Want to know the stupid part? Robin clicked another tab. He tagged himself at that hotel. Public post, geolocated, timestamp preserved. Even added one of those check-in stickers. Some people make evidence collection too easy. I took screenshots, saving each with precise UTC timestamps. "Send me everything?" Robin nodded, typing rapidly. "Creating a shared drive now. All files maintain original metadata." We worked methodically until nearly midnight. Every receipt, every liked post, every tagged photo built the pattern. I forwarded the complete dossier to Priya with a detailed index. Her response came early next morning. Subpoenas filed for his employment records and travel reimbursements. Excellent work on documentation. I spent that morning installing upgraded security. Cloud backup for the doorbell camera. Secondary storage for interior monitors. Chain of custody logs for every file. Each step documented with military precision. When Wendy came down for breakfast, she tried casual conversation. "There's a new coffee place opening near..." "All communication through counsel," I said without looking up from my laptop. She hesitated in the doorway. "We can't even talk." "We can talk through our attorneys." That night I slept deeply for the first time since coming home. No racing thoughts, no replaying conversations. Just the quiet certainty of evidence accumulating. The next 2 days brought steady progress. Court acknowledgments arrived in my inbox. DNA testing order registered. Temporary financial controls confirmed. I noted each in my evidence journal with timestamps and reference numbers. The hospital liaison sent detailed instructions. Pursuant to Standing Order 2347B, genetic testing to be conducted immediately following birth. Chain of custody protocols attached. I filed everything in duplicate, both digital and hard copy. This wasn't just documentation anymore. It was armor built from paper and pixels. My phone buzzed, alert notifications from the social media monitoring I'd set up. Demir had just liked Wendy's latest photo. 2 taps captured the screenshot, automatically tagged with UTC timestamp 2023-09, 15T21 34.17Z. As I saved the file, Robin's words from earlier echoed, "Evidence doesn't lie, people do." He was right. Every digital footprint they left drew the truth clearer, one timestamp at a time. I labeled the new screenshot and added it to the growing folder. The file name included the exact UTC time. Maintaining pristine records was becoming second nature. Each piece fit together. building toward the moment when facts would speak louder than their excuses. The DNA lab packet arrived at 10:15 a.m., thick manila envelope with red, legal documents enclosed, stamped across the front. I spread the contents on Priya's conference room table. Consent forms, chain of custody procedures, and collection protocols, all requiring notarized signatures. Initial here, here, and here. Priya pointed to highlighted sections. This establishes your compliance with the court order while protecting your rights. My pen moved steadily across each page. No hesitation, no dramatic pauses, just the quiet scratching of ink on legal papers that would finally force truth into daylight. 3 nights later, my phone lit up at 2 a.m. Wendy's contractions had started. I grabbed my go bag and the sealed hospital documentation package. Before starting the car, I activated my dash cam and spoke clearly. This is Jude Hallstrom. Time is 0213 hours. I'm transporting Wendy Hallstrom to Metro General in compliance with Court Order DAR 2347B to maintain chain of custody for genetic testing. The emergency room lights cast harsh shadows as we checked in. The registrar's eyes flickered with recognition when I presented the court order. Clearly, they'd been briefed. I have the file flagged, she said, applying special stickers to Wendy's intake forms. All samples will be tagged and logged according to the order. Movement caught my eye. Demir trying to look casual as he paced the hallway. I took out my phone, opened my evidence log app, and dictated, Subject Demir Kovalenko observed on-site at 0342 hours. Priya arrived like a ghost in pressed silk, somehow immaculate despite the hour. She flipped through Wendy's paperwork with practiced efficiency. Good, they've listed it correctly. Putative father unknown pending genetic testing, she confirmed. Keep recording times and observations. Between contractions, Wendy grabbed my wrist. Just sign as the father, she pleaded. We can forget all this testing nonsense. The court order stands, I said, gently removing her hand. No signatures except what's legally required. The delivery room filled with controlled chaos. Through it all, I maintained my log. Times, names, badge numbers. When the nurse collected DNA swabs from both Wendy and the baby, I recorded every seal number and signature. Chain of custody initiated at 517 hours. I spoke into my phone as the lab courier signed the final form. The sealed kit disappeared into their official transport container. The drive home was silent except for Wendy's occasional sniffs. I helped her inside. Whatever else had happened, basic decency mattered, and got her settled on the living room couch. My phone buzzed just as I set down her hospital bag. The lab's automated message was clinical and precise. Specimen receipt confirmed. Processing initiated. Results available within 72 hours. Reference, NADR DN 2347B. I checked my watch. 11:47 a.m., 72 hours. The countdown to truth had begun. Each tick of the clock brought us closer to the moment when facts would replace fiction. I'd done everything by the book, maintained records, followed orders, preserved evidence. Now all that remained was waiting for science to confirm what the timeline had already told us. The DNA results arrived at 6:17 a.m., lighting up my phone with a simple subject line. Genetic analysis complete. Case DN 2347B. My hands were steady as I opened the PDF, but my mouth went dry when I saw those zeros. Not a trace of genetic connection. 0.00% probability of paternity. I'd known, of course. The math had told this story 9 months ago. But seeing it in stark laboratory letterhead made something final click into place. 2 clicks sent the report to Priya. Her response came before I'd finished my first cup of coffee. Filing enforcement motions now. Get certified copies printed. The FedEx store opened at 8. I watched the printer spit out crisp copies, each one stamped with raised seals that caught the fluorescent light. These weren't just papers. They were keys unlocking my freedom from her web of lies. Back home, I heard Wendy before I saw her. The sharp click of her heels on the kitchen tile, the way her breath came in angry bursts. How dare you? She thrust her phone in my face, showing Priya's official notice about the DNA results and subsequent motions. You're trying to humiliate me. The truth isn't humiliation, I said, keeping my voice level. It's just reality. I'll tell them what you did. Her voice cracked with desperation. "How you threatened me, how you made me feel unsafe. We both know that's a lie." I gestured to the doorbell camera above us. "And everything's recorded. You can't just walk away from this." "You're right, I'm not walking, I'm following the law. You signed the agreement. The DNA is conclusive. You can't touch me and I will not fund lies." She stormed out, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the windows. I went back to my coffee, methodically documenting the exchange in my evidence log. The police arrived at 2:45 p.m. 2 officers, professional but stern, handed me a temporary protective order. Wendy's statement claimed I'd made threatening gestures, used my military training to intimidate her, made her fear for her safety. "Sir, you'll need to leave the premises for 10 days until the hearing," the older officer said. "You can have someone collect essential items for you." I nodded, already texting Robin. This wasn't a surprise. It was a classic desperation play. I'd seen it coming since the DNA results landed. Colonel Reeves called while I was packing my duffel bag. "Hallstrom, your clearance is on administrative hold pending resolution. Standard procedure." "Understood, sir." My voice stayed professional despite the bitter taste in my mouth. Robin's truck pulled up just as dusk was settling. I tossed my bag in the back, then paused to send Priya a message. Doorbell cam footage from both confrontations uploaded to secure folder. Timestamps match police report times exactly. She replied immediately. "Evidentiary hearing scheduled for Friday, 1400 hours. We'll destroy this nonsense." I checked my watch and marked my calendar. 72 hours until truth caught up with lies. The temporary order might have taken my house, but it hadn't touched my resolve. Robin drummed his fingers on the steering wheel. "You good?" "Yeah." I settled into the passenger seat, watching my house disappear in the side mirror. Just counting hours now. I met Robin at his place early the next morning, my laptop under my arm and determination burning in my chest. The doorbell camera's cloud storage had caught everything. "Watch this," I said, pulling up the footage from yesterday afternoon. The timestamp read 2:13 p.m., barely 30 minutes before the police arrived. There they were, Wendy and Demir on my front porch, heads bent together like conspirators. The camera's microphone picked up every damning word. "Just say he reached for you," Demir whispered, his hand on Wendy's shoulder. "Military guys, they all have PTSD. The cops eat that up." Wendy nodded, rehearsing her lines. "He was aggressive, intimidating, used his training to threaten me." "Perfect," Demir coached. "Remember to shake a little when you tell them. Really sell the fear." My jaw clenched watching them orchestrate their little performance, but I kept my hands steady as I documented everything. Timestamps, file paths, SHA 256 hashes, a detailed chain of custody that would stand up to any scrutiny. "These people," Robin muttered, shaking his head. "They really thought they'd get away with this. They forgot about the cameras." I exported the clips to a fresh flash drive. Amateur hour. Priya met us at her office within the hour. She watched the footage once, her expression hardening with each passing second. "This is exactly what we need," she said, already drafting motions on her laptop. "I'm submitting this to the DA and filing for an emergency hearing. False police reports have consequences." The court clerk scheduled us for 2 p.m. I spent the intervening hours reviewing my statement with Priya, each word precise and measured. Walking into that courtroom felt like stepping onto familiar ground. Combat teaches you to recognize decisive moments. This was one of them. Wendy sat in the front row playing the victim card with dabbed eyes and trembling hands. Demir lounged 2 rows behind her, trying to look uninvolved. Amateur hour indeed. I took the stand first, my voice clear and steady as I recounted the morning's events. I remained calm throughout our interaction. The only aggressive behavior came from Mrs. Hallstrom. Priya approached the bench. "Your Honor, we have video evidence that contradicts Mrs. Hallstrom's statement to police." The footage played on the courtroom monitor. The audio was crisp, unavoidable. Wendy and Demir directing their little drama, caught in pristine 1080p with perfect timestamps. The judge's face darkened as he watched. When the clip ended, he turned to Wendy. "Mrs. Hallstrom, this court takes a very dim view of false allegations. They damage real victims and waste valuable resources. He shuffled through papers. The protective order is dissolved, effective immediately. Mr. Hallstrom will return home today. Priya was already texting Colonel Reeves's office about lifting the administrative hold. I watched Demir's face as reality sank in, his smug confidence crumbling like a sandcastle at high tide. After we filed out, Priya pulled me aside in the hallway. "There's more we can do here," she said, eyes gleaming with predatory focus. "We can expand the civil claim against Mr. Kovalenko. Alienation of affection, intentional infliction of emotional distress." I looked back through the doorway at Demir, watching his shoulders slump as he spoke with his own lawyer. This time, I was the one who nodded. The morning of the final hearing felt different. Not lighter exactly, but purposeful. I straightened my tie in the courthouse bathroom mirror, remembering all those pre-mission equipment checks. Everything in its place, every detail verified. Priya met me outside courtroom C, her briefcase bulging with organized evidence tabs. "Ready?" "Born ready." The soldier's answer came automatically. Inside, Wendy sat with her court-appointed counsel, her pregnancy now obvious under a loose blouse. Demir had claimed the back row, trying to blend into the wood paneling. Their eyes followed me as I took my seat, but I kept my gaze forward. Judge Bennett wasted no time. "Based on the evidence presented, this court finds clear and convincing proof of adultery during the respondent's military deployment." He shuffled papers. "The post-deployment agreement signed by both parties is valid and enforceable." I watched Wendy's fingers grip the table edge. "Therefore, pursuant to said agreement, the marital home transfers solely to Mr. Hallstrom. No alimony shall be awarded to Mrs. Hallstrom." The judge's gavel punctuated each point. "Furthermore, the birth certificate shall list Mr. Kovalenko as the biological father, with support payments garnished directly from wages." Demir's sharp intake of breath carried from the back row. This was just the beginning of his problems. After we filed out, Priya pulled me aside. "Ready for phase 2? I nodded. We'd prepared the civil suit meticulously, a separate action targeting Demir specifically. The filing landed like a phone book. Texts between him and Wendy, Venmo payment trails, his company's explicit policies against workplace relationships, deposition transcripts where he'd tried to dodge responsibility. Demir's lawyer attempted damage control within hours. "My client is willing to discuss settlement terms." Priya's counteroffer made them choke. "The damages reflect willful interference, legal costs, and appropriate punitive measures." When Demir missed 3 discovery deadlines in a row, the judge had enough. The default judgment hit him like a financial wrecking ball. I didn't smile when the sheriff posted the levy notice, but I didn't look away either. Word traveled fast. Demir's truck disappeared from the employee parking lot, replaced by a beater sedan. HR called him in after reviewing the court documents. He resigned before they could fire him. His retirement accounts emptied to cover the judgment. Actions meet consequences. Back home, I stood in my kitchen, truly mine now, and set Wendy's house keys on the counter. Her 72 hours to move out were ticking down. One last conversation waited, but this time I held all the cards. "You know what the worst part is?" I asked Robin over the phone while I waited. "Not the affair itself. It's how they both acted like I was somehow wrong for refusing to carry their lie." "That's what guilty people do, brother," Robin replied. "They try to make their problem your fault. Well, their problem found its proper home." I heard a car door outside. "She's here. Time to finish this." I ended the call as footsteps approached the front door. The lock turned and I straightened my shoulders, ready for the final scene of this particular drama. The kitchen island felt like neutral ground when Wendy walked in. Her footsteps echoed differently now, hesitant, like she was crossing enemy territory instead of the home we'd shared. I kept my voice level, professional. "The court order gives you 72 hours to collect your belongings." I gestured to the stack of empty moving boxes I'd left by the stairs. "I'll stay in the garage while you pack." She set her purse down slowly, fingers trailing on the granite we'd picked together years ago. The memory of that day at the stone yard flickered, her excitement over the swirling patterns, my calculations for the budget. Now it just felt cold under my palm, We could start over, Jude. Her voice cracked. People make mistakes, they rebuild. You didn't make a mistake. The words came out steady, rehearsed with Priya for exactly this moment. You made choices, multiple choices, over months. You ended our marriage, I'm just finishing the paperwork. You're being so cold. I'm being precise. There's a difference. She moved closer, that familiar scent of her shampoo hitting me like an ambush. Will you ever want to meet the baby? She's innocent in all this. The question landed exactly where I knew it would. That soft spot every soldier carries, the one that makes us protect the vulnerable. I'd thought about my answer for weeks. I'll never punish the innocent, I said carefully. But I won't carry your lie either. That burden belongs to you and Demir. Her shoulders slumped. We stood there in silence, the kitchen clock ticking away seconds that felt like rifle rounds. Finally, she reached into her pocket and placed her keys next to mine. I'll have everything out by tomorrow night, she whispered. I watched her walk out with just her suitcase, then sent Priya the time-stamped confirmation email she'd requested. The locksmith arrived within the hour. The weeks that followed moved like a military operation, methodical, purposeful. I restored my routines one by one. Morning coffee on the deck, evening runs with my dog. The garage became my sanctuary. I built a workbench from plans I'd saved during deployment, the sawdust and sweat washing away old memories. Robin showed up every Saturday with steaks and beer, manning the grill while we talked about everything and nothing. The familiar rhythm of male friendship did more healing than any therapy could have. Colonel Reeves called personally about my clearance reinstatement. The system worked as intended, he said. False accusations get exposed eventually. Through the grapevine, I heard snippets about their new reality. Wendy took a studio apartment across town, picking up extra shifts at a diner to cover rent. Demir's paycheck arrived with a chunk missing each month, automatic garnishment like clockwork. His co-workers had a nickname for him now, the lawsuit guy. He'd stopped coming to office happy hours. One morning, watching steam rise from my coffee on the back steps, that familiar ache returned. Not for Wendy, but for the baby. An innocent life tangled in adult chaos. But that wasn't my burden to carry. They created the situation, they could navigate its consequences. I took another sip, letting the quiet settle around me. The kind of quiet that comes with freedom, with knowing you escaped a lifetime of lies just in time. I believe stories such as this find us for a reason. If this one touches you, please subscribe. I share a new one every day. In the meantime, there are 2 stories on the screen that are even better.